Hello, my friends. Today, I want to talk about New Year's resolutions, or actually an alternative to New Year's resolutions. Because I don't know about you, but they don't seem to work for me. And so I've started doing something a bit different. I started doing this a number of years ago. And I wanted just to share with you my thoughts around New Year's resolutions and maybe what an alternative could look like for you. Now, I was going to record this as a podcast, but my technology isn't working. So I'm recording it as a video. So it's going to be a bit longer than my usual videos. And I'm also going to be referring to some notes. So you'll probably see me reading my notes a little bit. And I apologize for that. But here we are. It's almost the end of the year. And this is the time of year when we start thinking about the new year and what we want to do and what goals we want to achieve and all those wonderful things that we think about this time of year. But when we look at the research, it seems that a vast majority of New Year's resolutions don't work. Depending on what research I look at, up to 80% of New Year's resolutions just drop after just several weeks or several months. And like I said, I can personally attest to this, and maybe you can too. So don't get me wrong. I mean, goals and setting goals is really, really important. And I think having goals is a really critical way of moving forward in our lives. And we need goals, but they need to be set properly and appropriately. And there's actually a system and a process to setting goals, and there's strategies around setting goals as well. And I find that with New Year's resolutions, people don't always follow those goal setting strategies. Resolutions are almost never set with intention. And this is a very important piece of the work in my mind. And never mind the word resolution. I mean, it just sounds so inflexible and strict and like an obligation. No wonder we don't stick to resolutions. The other thing is that resolutions are kind of binary, just like goals are. They're really black and white. You either stick to the resolution or you didn't stick to the resolution. You met the goal or you didn't meet the goal. You were either successful or you failed. And there seems to be so much pressure around resolutions. And when we put ourselves under pressure without the capacity for grace, then it just seems like work. There's no room for progressive action or intentional action or intentionally being a certain way. There's no room for growth or learning. The other thing I know, and I know that you know, is that life happens during the year. Things change, situations are thrown at us, events we didn't expect show up. I mean, we all know this, right? So having binary or black and white resolutions doesn't allow for life's challenges. It doesn't allow for flexibility. It doesn't allow for change or giving ourselves grace or allowing us to change our minds. Other than not being made with intentionality, the other big piece for me is that resolutions are made without closing out the past year. It's so important to do this, to close out the year we just had before stepping into a new one. It's like anything in life. We need closure. We need closure when relationships end, when we switch jobs, when we move to a new house, or with any big life event, we need closure. It's critical, and it's also very powerful to close one chapter before moving on to a next life chapter. And it's a huge part of starting the new year, closing out the one we just had before we start the new one. And with resolutions, we typically don't do this. We just jump into making the resolutions. So several years ago, I started doing a year-end closeout instead of setting resolutions. And I also started moving away a little bit from setting only goals, but also setting intentions. Goals are focused on specific and measurable outcomes, and I think they're really important to have. But intentions are about how we wish to be, who we wish to be, and how we want to show up in the world. And that's a really important part of stepping into a new year, is how do we want to be and who do we want to become? We're getting close to the end of 2022, as you know. And in the words of James Clear, who's the author of Atomic Habits, he says, "What is something you can accomplish in the final weeks of the year? The year isn't over yet. End on a high note." I really love this thought because often we want to rush into a new year, thinking that it's going to end the challenges or the pain that we felt in this current year. But we all know that's simply not true. We take everything with us, all the frustrations, the sorrow, the chaos, the uncertainty. These things don't go away just because the calendar changes from one year to the next. We're still the same person with the same problems, the same thoughts, and the same feelings. But it doesn't need to be the case. You can choose to be a different you. You can choose a new set of thoughts. You can choose how you wish to end the year. And you can choose how you want to walk into the new year. These are all called intentions. So, again, as I said, a powerful way of doing this is to do a year end review and closeout. I started doing this several years ago after reading a Tim Ferriss blog post about his year end review. I was inspired to review my past year, and I asked myself a series of questions that I journaled on. These reflections really helped me understand my year, remember all the positive things that happened. It allowed me to acknowledge lessons learned and things that I was proud of, and also what I wanted to let go of. Most importantly, it helped me set the tone for the new year from a place of calm rather than from a place of I should or the usual frenetic and obligatory resolution setting. I realized that closing out the current year allows me to pause, reflect, and really be present. It changed how I approach the new year. I learned from this past year to know where I want to focus or refocus my energy in the new year. I remember all the positive things that happened, and I take time to acknowledge the things I'm proud of, which is not something we usually do. I take time to be clear on what my priorities are and what I really want to accomplish in the year ahead. I realize that you can't start something new without ending the old. Saying goodbye to the old year from a place of gratitude and acceptance means you'll start the new year with a fresh perspective and renewed energy. As T.S. Eliot says, "For last year's words belong to last year's language, and next year's words await another voice. And to make an end is to make a beginning." Some of the questions I asked myself during my year end review, and you can ask yourself as well, is well, first of all, I review my year. I look at all the major events that happened, and I acknowledge which ones had the biggest, most positive, or even the most negative impact on me and why. And I really journal on that and reflect on that. I think about what my biggest accomplishment this year has been and what I'm most proud of. And I really, really acknowledge myself for that. I ask myself what I'm grateful for this year, who I'm grateful for this year, who has helped me this past year. Also, what gifts did this year bring? Despite every year having its challenges and difficulties, which we tend to focus on, every year also brings a variety of gifts and opportunities. And I really reflect on that as well and acknowledge those gifts. In terms of moving forward, I think about what my intention is for the new year. Who do I want to become? And also, what one action can I do every day consistently, even if it's really small, that will help me move towards my biggest goals and my biggest priorities? So I encourage you to reflect on some of these questions as well. Take some time, take a few minutes to really think about how this past year impacted you, what gifts came to you, what you're most proud of. And turning towards 2023, think about your intentions. Who do you want to be? How do you want to show up in the world? What's your biggest priorities? What's your biggest goals? And if you're interested, I have two amazing opportunities for you to help you close out 22 and move into 23 with positive and aligned intention. In both of these workshops, you'll have time to close out 2022 and set intentions for 2023. You'll really be intentional about how you start the new year, which, like I said, starts with closing out the current year. We'll say goodbye from a place of gratitude and acceptance. We'll intentionally recognize all that happened in 2022, and you'll be able to acknowledge yourself for your accomplishments and your successes. You'll be able to let go of the things that maybe didn't go so well, and you'll remember what you're grateful for. So, join me in these two upcoming workshops to set intentions and goals for 2023 that are aligned with what's most important to you. So, choose a different approach this year. Give yourself the gift of pausing, reflecting, and really connecting to your inner wisdom. So, the first event is a free 1 hour workshop. It's coming up on Thursday, December 22nd from 7 to 8 p.m. Mountain Time. Like I said, it's free, it's on Zoom, it's going to be an hour. It's going to be a wonderful way to really reflect on 2022 and also start 2023 on a really high note. So, I have the registration link in the show notes or down below, and you can just register for that, and it's totally free. The second opportunity I have for you is this for women only because it's being held at a wellness center for women in Cochrane. It's called Malia Wellness Center. This will be an in-person event, so it's 2 hours long. It's going to also, we're going to be connecting with others and with ourselves. So it's the same kind of thing where we're closing out the current year and starting off 2023. We'll have a little bit more time to do some meditation, a little bit longer journaling, and maybe a few other journaling prompts as well, and maybe even some discussion. So this one is on Saturday, January 7th, 2023. So it's in the new year. So it kind of gives you time to go over Christmas holidays and just really start in January fresh. It's from 1 to 3 p.m. Like I said, it's in Cochrane. So if you're a woman in the Calgary area, I encourage you to show up. It's going to be really wonderful. It's $40. So again, a really reasonable investment in yourself. And again, I have the registration link below. I would love to see you at one or both of these events. So, from my heart to yours, I'm wishing you a 2023 that is aligned, that is connected with your inner wisdom, that serves you the best, that gives you so much love and light and laughter and adventures and positivity and just really wonderful things for you ahead in the new year. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you in the new year.